Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are doing literal equations today. Since we're doing literal equations today, when you came in, you should have picked up these two half sheets. They're either going to be green or pink, whichever ones, and you should have picked up this half sheet. They are going to go into your notebook, and they're going to go on page 37. So it's going to be page 37. Sorry, 36. Because this page is 35, and that's going to be your homework page. And the previous page before that was your translating equations from yesterday, and that went on 34, along with your pennants, which were on 33, and you should have all the work there, and if it did not fit on the paper, it should be on this page in your notebook. I'll give you guys a second to get that organized. Now don't forget, yesterday's pennant activity that's still hanging in the classroom is going to be on page 33 in your notebook. Make sure that you've gotten that completed. If it needs to be checked, you're going to have to see me tomorrow when I come back. Page 34 was the notes from yesterday. You should have completed and had stamped numbers 1, 2, and 3. If you haven't, then you need to make sure you see me when I come back tomorrow. In your homework last night, numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you should have written them in words. I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes to get this all set up, and then so page 34, and then on page 35 is going to be your, let's see, day 4 homework. Okay, that's going to be your page 35, your day 4 homework, and your page 36 is going to be your day 4 notes. For literal equations. Okay, by now you should have that all set up. So the way you're going to attach it to the page is this: you're going to attach first so that it's flat onto the page, and then you are going to attach the flip book we're about to make up here towards the top. If you need time to work or space to work on these problems, what you're going to do is make sure that you do that on this page, or it actually gives you enough room, so I don't know why you would need room anyplace else to do those. Alright, so I'm going to get started. We are going to start with the flip book. My notebook is always going to be here available for you guys, sitting on the front of my desk, and you should just be able to take a look at that. Okay, here is my flip book. When you picked it up, I left the pages looking like this, I think, sitting over there. So what you're going to do is, this is going to be a little bit easier than the last one we did. We are going to, that's not it, line these up like this so that we have step 1 right above step 2. Then what we're going to do is flip the top down. When we flip the top down, it's going to line up the pieces that we need. If you want to adjust your fold a little bit, you can do that, but there we go. So again, you're going to have the two sheets. You're going to hold them side up that says one-step equations and two-step equations. Okay? You're going to stack them on top of each other so you have one-step equations above two-step equations, and then you're going to fold the top down. Once you fold the top down, you're only going to need, and I'm going to adjust my fold so that it comes down just a little bit more for me, because you know Miss Abner is a little bit OCD sometimes. Alright, so I'm going to adjust my fold so I have a little bit of space up here. The reason I need a little bit of space is because that's where my two staples are going to go. We all know my stapler sits on top of the file cabinet in front of the little purple bin. The staple didn't go in right, but we're going to fix that. Okay, staple. Once you get it stapled, you should be able, oh, I missed the staple. Oh, well. Miss Abner is going to switch to her pink one that she already has put together so that we don't waste any valuable time. There we go. there's my pink one. So I'm going to flip it open. At the top it says a literal equation is. And what we're going to look at is what a literal equation is. And when we are dealing with literal equations, it is simply dealing with equations that we are solving for the variable. So we're going to solve for a particular variable. So literal equations, a literal equation is an equation. Ooh, that's hard to read. Hold on, let's use a different color to make it work better for you guys. Let's see if we can switch back to green and see if that'll help us with the color-wise. Just because I know you can't see the pink, and I want to make sure that you can see it. So we'll do green because that's a little bit easier on the eyes as far as the camera is concerned. So we're going to go literal equations. A literal equation is an equation with two or more variables. Alright, so in order to solve a literal equation, what we're going to need to do is use inverse operations. Now, when we use inverse operations, we know that we have 4 that we can pick from. So if we have addition, then the opposite is going to be subtraction. If we have multiplication, the opposite is going to be division. And if we happen to have a square, so x squared, then the opposite is going to be a square root. So we should have gotten this completed. I'll give you guys a couple minutes to get that finished out because I know some of you may still be writing. So let's look at our one-step equations. I like this foldable because it gives you a reference point. So here it says, right here we're going to recall. So we're going to remember how to solve for x. And we're going to remember how to solve for y. So in this case, you're going to solve for x. So you're going to subtract 7 from both sides. That's going to cancel. X is going to equal, well, since both of these are negative, they're going to become a bigger negative number. So this is going to be negative 19. If we are looking at y, so since the 9 is negative, then we are going to add 9 to both sides. That's going to cancel, and y is going to equal 34 plus 9 is going to give us 43. All right, so now that we've solved and we found x and we found y, now we're saying, well, we're going to go ahead and solve for one of the variables. So it's like we solved for x here, now we're going to solve for just a, which means our solution is not going to be a number like above, it's going to be another equation. So if I'm solving for a, I'm going to move everything away from a. So I'm going to subtract b from both sides. That's going to cancel b out right here, so a is going to equal c minus b. Okay, so I'm going to let you guys quick check number 2. So you're going to solve for d. So this is your quick check, which means you're going to check with a partner. So I'm going to give you about a minute, so somebody can pause the video for about a minute or two so that you guys can go ahead and solve for d. I'll be checking if you solved for d when I come in tomorrow. All right, so you should have unpaused the video by now. So once you've unpaused the video, now we're going to look at solving one-step equations when we're using the inverse operation. When we start with multiplication, so our inverse is going to be division. So we're going to divide both sides by 6. And x is, notice I divided by negative 6, not just 6. So x is going to equal a positive 5, because a negative divided by a negative gives you a positive. So then I'm going to look at the next side. So I'm going to solve for y. So if I'm solving for y, since this is division, my inverse is going to be multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides by -4. That's so that I can cancel out my 4's. All that's left on that side now is y. And y is equal to what's 8 times a -4? That's right, it's a -32. So just like we did our inverse here of division and this one of multiplication, now we're going to look down here at the bottom. And we're going to solve, this time we're going to solve 4, and you guys are going to quick check number 3. Okay, so since I'm solving 4, so I'm going to solve for, they said m. So in order to get m by itself, since I have v on the bottom, I'm going to have to multiply both sides by v. That v is going to cancel, so m is going to be equal to d times v. Any questions? If you have questions, look to your neighbor. I need you guys to support each other today since I'm not here. So check with your neighbor. Go ahead and pause the video for about 2 or 3 minutes so that you guys can check with your neighbor and compare work, not just answers. Hey, how did you get this? I got that. If you got that and I got this, then which one of us is right? Let's bring a third person in to see if they got the same as one of us. And let's see what we did differently. Go ahead and pause the video. Okay. By now you should have unpaused the video, so welcome back. Alright, so we're going to look at solving for W. This is going to take a couple more steps because we're looking at now our two-step equations. So the tools that we have now, we can either use addition or subtraction, multiplication, and division. We're going to be using 2 or even 3 of these. So if we're solving for W, the first thing I'm going to do is reverse distribute because I want to divide everything by 2. That's going to get rid of this 2 and this 2. So now I have P divided by 2 is equal to L plus W. Since I'm solving for W, I'm going to subtract L from both sides, which means the L is going to go away here, and I'm going to have P minus L is divided by 2 is going to equal my W. Can I leave it written that way? No, it needs to be in variable equals form, so thank you for that. W is equal to P minus L divided by 2. This one is my solution. Since we are still solving multi-step equations, looking at number 6, we're going to solve for B. So this time I'm solving for B. Can this equation here be written another way? Well, of course it can. I can say B times H divided by 2 is the same as having 1/2 BH. Since I'm solving for B, I like this version better because now I can obviously see that I need to multiply both sides by 2. Times 2 times 2. Well, you know what I mean. Times 2. So this one's going to cancel out. I'm going to have 2 times A is equal to BH. Since I have 2 times A is equal to BH, I'm still solving for B. So I'm going to divide, because they're multiplied, I'm going to divide by H. My H's will cancel. Now my B is equal to 2A divided by H. Alright, so I'm going to do a final quick check for you guys. And I want to quick check you here and here. So there's a total now of 4 quick checks. 1, 2, 3, and 4. You want to make sure that you're completing those so that they can be stamped when I return. That is your entrance ticket into the room tomorrow. So you want to make sure you have those done. So we're done with that foldable. And let's show you where it's going to attach into your notebook one more time so you know where it goes. So we're back in the notebook. I'm showing you the page it goes on. Okay, so it's going to go again on page 36, and it's going to be attached towards the top so that we have room to attach this underneath it. Okay, now we're going to do the half sheet. So go ahead and get your half sheet out so that we can work on that. So this time what we're going to do is we are looking at little equations, and this is your little cheat sheet, for lack of a better phrase. Since we're cheat sheeting it up, we're going to make sure that we have information on here that we can use that's completely 100% beneficial to us when we are looking at solving literal equations. This is kind of a go-to. So if I'm looking at literal equations, I am looking at making sure that I am solving for the variable that they're asking me for. So in this case, they're giving us the formula for the perimeter of a rectangle. We know that the perimeter is going to be equal to, so this represents perimeter. Well, let's see if that's what I want you guys to put there, because I feel like I want something else there. So let's just identify all of our variables. This one represents perimeter. And our L is going to represent length. Actually, that color is probably not going to show up well for you guys. So L is going to represent the length. And our W is going to represent the width. Now that we know what each of them stands for, the last time we solved for for W. So on your other notes, we solved for W. What happens if we decide to solve for L? So in this case, we are going to solve for L. So we're going to match colors. So since our length is blue, we are going to solve here for L. So since we are solving for L, we are going to make sure that we go in and color code so that our problem down here at the bottom, we know what is what. So we're going to say L here. And we know that our P is our purple color. And I'm coloring so I can give you guys some time to get caught up. For those of you who are just starting on the foldable, maybe you were finishing out something else, or maybe we're waiting on some people. So, and then our W was the teal color. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to do is divide both sides by 2. Why am I dividing both sides by 2? Some of you may have said at this point that we're dividing both sides by 2 because this is multiplied by 2 and we need to move it. If you said that, you are 100% correct. High five your neighbor. So, now that we've divided by 2, we have our P divided by 2 is equal to our L plus our W. So now what we're going to do is we are going to subtract the width from both sides, or the W from both sides. So now I'm going to say minus W minus W. When I subtract the width from both sides, These two are going to cancel out. Since those two cancel out, now I'm left with P minus W, and that's all divided by 2. So now that we know that that's divided by 2, what does it equal? At this point, some of you should have said, hey, Miss Abner, it equals L. I know you think it's weird to talk to a video, but you deal, and you live and you learn. There's my L. Can we leave it like this? And if not, why not? Have that conversation with your neighbor. So I'll give you about 10 seconds to have that quick conversation with your neighbor. Somebody should be explaining, I don't know, why you can't leave it like that and what form we do leave it in. So, what turns out is going to be is equal to P minus W divided by 2. Well, look at that, rock stars. We made it through 2 sets of notes. We didn't do bad for ourselves. So what you're going to do, you're going to take this, and now that it's all nice and pretty, if you chose to use colors, yay you. If not, I totally understand. We're going to attach this into our notebook. So we're going to go back to what page number? 36, of course. So we're back at page 36, and you're going to attach this here. When I come back tomorrow, I am checking to make sure that you have attached in your notes and both pieces of notes into your notebook on page 36, and that you have labeled the title. Your homework you should have also picked up when you came in. It goes on this page. I'm going to give you the rest of the period to work on the homework. If you did not finish the Pennant activity from yesterday, then go ahead and get that done as well. You know this is a no-tech zone, so do not have your cell phones out. Unfortunately, since I'm not here, there are no calculators available to check out, so you want to make sure that you are getting with somebody who does have a calculator and you guys can share. But at this point in time, we're doing literal equations. You really shouldn't need one. But if you were working on this stuff, you can do it by hand. Nothing there is too complicated for you. So thanks, guys, for behaving yourselves. I appreciate you, and I will see you tomorrow.